My name is Richard Medhurst. I'm an independent journalist. I've been covering Julian Assange's court case in London for a few years now, and I'm one of the only journalists covering it. Julian Assange does have another case that concerns him in Spain. Now, this case has to do with the spying by the CIA on Julian Assange during his time at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. And we have more evidence now that this was indeed the CIA, in case that wasn't already obvious. There's an article that was published here by El País, which is a Spanish outlet, and they basically broke the story about the original story about the spying, and now we have more evidence. And basically the police in Spain, they upload the evidence to a cloud system, to a website, and this allows the defendants and the plaintiffs, to open the website, to look at the website, and examine all of the evidence at will, anytime, any place. Now, it turns out the Spanish police did not hand over 200 gigabytes of evidence to Assange's lawyers, Aitor Martinez, and only now have Assange's lawyers found out about this evidence, where you have emails, you have folders, you have videos. Some of these folders literally called CIA, right? Indicating who the customer was, because you basically had a Spanish company called UC Global, which was contracted by the CIA to spy on Assange. And so UC Global, because they did the security for the embassy, they had unprecedented access to carry out this sophisticated level of espionage, right? Video espionage, microphone. They hid something under the fire extinguisher. Assange knew that he was being spied on, so he would have conversations with his lawyers in the ladies' room. They bugged that as well. And they would pass all of this along to the CIA, right? And the head of this company was called David Morales. He is the guy who is on trial now because of violation of privacy, espionage, and all the charges that go with his behavior against Julian Assange in the embassy. So just to read El País and what they had to say, they said the appearance of this new evidence had been a surprise in the case against Morales in Spain's High Court, which is called the Audiencia Nacional. None of these computer records previously appeared in the initial copy made by the police, when officers categorized the material seized from the security contractor during his arrest in September 2019. All of this material was uploaded to a cloud storage system within the judicial system, so all parties involved could review it. The arrest and indictment of Morales took place weeks after an investigation by El País revealed the videos and audios that UC Global employees had recorded while Assange was preparing his defense with his lawyers. So this screenshot that they provide you with here, what they're showing here is a file path. When you have a file or a document, a Word document, a PDF, a photo, whatever it is, the file path is its location, its digital location on the hard drive or phone or disk or whatever. So here, what's interesting is that you can see the names of the folders, right? And one of them is called, it says North America in Spanish, and then it says USA, and then CIA. So on Morales' computer, he had basically folders literally called, CIA, and we already knew that he was working with the CIA, but now this basically just confirms it once more. So this El País say the discovery of these new clues about the CIA spying on the cyber activist who remains, Assange is just a journalist, who remains imprisoned in a London jail is no accident. Assange's lawyers found problems when downloading the records uploaded to the cloud. They managed to get the judge, who's Santiago Pedras, who is overseeing the case, to authorize a second copy of the material seized by the agents. A new digital document dump offered a clear picture that the police had not pieced together. Now, a report by the experts called by Assange's lawyers credits the appearance of a, quote, very relevant volume of material which was not included in the original police copy. Forensic analysis describes the copy of the hard drive as containing, quote, multiple pieces of evidence. In the second dump, the mentioned folders have appeared, including the one that UC Global labeled CIA, which I just pointed out to you guys. Now, the difference in size between the police copy and the second copy, the fresh copy, given to Assange's lawyers, are very, very substantial. There's a huge, because you can't say that the police didn't rename the folders or categorize things properly. No. There's tons of files missing in the original copy. That's why there's a huge difference in the file size. So there's around 213 gigabytes of new evidence that Assange's lawyers have only now been given, and which the police did not give them during the first copy. I mean, that is insane, right? So it's the equivalent of 551,000 files and 973 email files. Among the new files, there was also a folder titled Operations and Projects, which again categorized everything according to geographical area. So that's why Morales had made North America, USA, CIA, right? So those are his clients and what they would be given. There were some labels in the original files that Morales had given them, such as Pamela Anderson. So that was when he filmed Pamela Anderson meeting with Assange, right? When he illegally recorded them. Then there's guest, so someone who's called quote unquote guest, which was used to refer to Assange. So Morales, when he named the files, he wouldn't call it the Ecuadorian embassy in London. He would call it the hotel. He would call Assange the guest, right? But the rest of it he named very clearly. There was also one called Ladies' Toilet, a place where Assange held meetings with his lawyers for fear of being spied on. Right? I told you about that. I know this because we heard the employees of this company testifying in the court, in the courtroom. So, well, their statements were read out, but that was their testimony. And they talked about all of this, right? The fire extinguisher, Ladies' Toilet, where all these places they had planted these bugs. So another person mentioned here is Fidel. He was the Ecuadorian consul, so a diplomat. He's a good friend. I've had him on the show here. You can go watch my interview with him. Really, really nice guy. He tried to. I asked him about this when they tried to get Julian out with a diplomatic passport, right? So because he would be protected by the Vienna Convention, but the UK refused to register him as a diplomat and so on, which is their right, fair enough. But it's not fair to persecute him. Right? But in any case, going back to what they're saying, they spied on Fidel as well. So it's not just Assange or his guests; they're spying on diplomats too in the embassy. Which, if that wasn't bad enough for you, they're also doing the diplomats. These video files were transferred to a commercial format and renamed with references to their contents. So that was basically just to make them, better categorized and more visible for the receiver, for the CIA. So until now, the suspicions that the owner of UC Global sent the material obtained during the espionage operation at the Ecuadorian embassy to the CIA was based on the evidence provided by El País, as well as on statements made by several former employees of the security company. So we heard former employees of the security company testify, as I mentioned. And just to explain this, the judge agreed in England to keep their testimonies, to allow their testimonies, and also allow them to keep their anonymous identity to protect them, right? So that was important that she agrees to this because she understood that these guys are also testifying in Spain. So, they need to protect them. They have to be anonymous. And same thing was allowed in England and also taken into consideration. I will add one thing, though. Well, I'll put it at the end. OK, I'll tell you what happened with the judge. Anyway, so they're saying that it was stuff in Spain. The evidence was based on evidence obtained by El País and the former employees of the security company. Also, there were emails from Morales in which he claimed to be working for the quote-unquote American client. And sorry, quote unquote, the American client, and that he had gone over to the dark side. So we saw these messages as well, right? I think they were on Telegram, not emails, but or maybe both. But yeah. So and he also wrote to his employees that those in control are friends of the USA. All right. So Assange's lawyer, Aitor Martinez, said that, quote, there's an enormous disparity, and to this is the added inactivity of the police unit, which until now has not submitted any official letter or report about the initial copies, which, as we now know, were biased and did not reflect the reality of the material of interest to this case. Okay, so again, he's saying that basically the police are doing nothing. The fact that we have 200 gigabytes of new data, which was not given to us originally, shows that the police are biased. And after these criticisms, the police responded with a report to the judge where they're trying to say that basically it is the same evidence. I don't know how they could come to that conclusion. It's like 200 gigabytes. You can measure this and quantify it, but okay. So you can see here this photo of Assange being spied on and so on. And it's worse than that. They didn't just like spy on them with cameras and microphones. Every guest that went in the embassy to visit Assange, they had to leave their belongings there. And the reason that they did this, or were forced to do this, is so that, UC Global, right? The reason that they implemented this policy is that they said it was for security, but actually what they were doing, they were taking apart the phones of the guests and photographing their SIM cards, their phones, to get the IMEI numbers, I believe it's called, and it's like a serial number for a phone, and it's a unique identifier. Same thing with the SIM card, and then also photographing their passports, ID cards, everything, like, full surveillance on Assange and his guests, and violating their privacy. It's unbelievable, right? So and of course the spying on the diplomats themselves, right? So all of this was done for the CIA. Now, let's say that you don't like Julian Assange and you think he's a spy and you blah blah blah, you believe all of these lies about him. The fact that he was spied on and that the United States obtained recordings between him and his lawyers, this means that the case has to be thrown out. Any judge in the world should and would throw this out. You know why? Because it's a violation of attorney-client privilege. It's a violation of due process. And you cannot deprive someone of their right to a fair trial. And fair trial means that they're not spied on with their counsel, with their lawyers, that they are allowed to prepare a proper defense. And you are not allowed, you are not allowed to gather evidence through espionage and then use it in court later. The means of obtaining evidence have to be respected. It's like you're not allowed to search someone's car or their property. I think it's Fourth Amendment, right? So that, because you need a warrant for that. And the United States is bringing this case. So whatever trial he would have in the United States, they would be using illegally obtained evidence. That's not allowed. In England, it's also not allowed. But the thing is that the judge in England, she blocked the extradition, okay? But she only did it on health reasons. When it comes to this, the spying, as I told you, the employees from UC Global who spied on Assange, they did their testimony anonymously. She basically didn't care. The judge said that the case in Spain is still ongoing, so I'm just gonna leave it at that and not comment. What do you mean you're not gonna take it into consideration? He's being spied on, man. He was spied on by the government that's trying to extradite him. They even wanted to kill him, These employees of UC Global, there were discussions about like leaving the door open so CIA or MI6 could come in and grab Assange and kill him or poison him. They were. I think one of the employees was asked to hand over a diaper from Assange's child so they could analyze the DNA and see if it's his child. Like how perverse and sinister do you need this to be for you to just look at Assange's case and say this guy is being hunted and persecuted and should not be extradited because that government's trying to kill him? That government spied on him. That government violated his right to a fair trial, violated his privacy, violated his due process. How many things do you need? So I'm shocked. I mean, I'm trying to be diplomatic here. I'm extremely shocked by the judge, kind of, brushing this aside. The fact that he was spied on in the embassy by the same government trying to extradite him. This is more than enough to throw any case out. So this is very important because now we have additional confirmation that he was being spied on. Julian Assange was being spied on. So going back to what I said, even if you don't like him or you think that he's guilty of something, you cannot pretend that, oh, he broke the law, and then you bend the law and spy on him and think that spying on him and breaking the law when it comes to a fair trial, like that's suddenly okay. You're okay with that? Come on. You either respect the law entirely, and Julian Assange never broke any laws anyway. They just claim that he did. He's a journalist, not a spy. When a government calls a journalist a spy, it's because they're authoritarian and they're trying to lock the journalist up. That's it, period. It's a classic textbook tactic. And they're doing that with Pablo Gonzalez right now in Poland. He's a Spanish-Russian journalist, and they've had him in prison now for over a year, no charge, no trial, and every 3 months they extend it. They're saying he's a spy. Based on what? Based on nothing. This is why it's important to care about Assange's case, about Pablo Gonzalez's case, because these are serious violations of press freedoms. There are serious violations of a person's privacy and their right to a fair trial, and violations of due process. You can pick British law, Spanish law. You can pick the European Convention on Human Rights. And you will find that Julian Assange and Pablo Gonzalez have had their rights violated in every jurisdiction imaginable. That's why you should care, and please make noise about their cases.